Hi guys, so today we are going to learn how to trigger workflow for salary change in SuccessFactors. In SuccessFactors, we can trigger workflow for salary change in two ways. One is via workflow derivation data model XML, that is via provisioning, and another is via business rule via instance only. So today we will check both ways how to trigger the workflows. So first we picked up one example employee where we are going to test where our workflow triggering is working fine or not. To test that, we pick up one random employee, Mark Bouquet, and this is Mark Bouquet's compensation information right now. So right now no workflow is associated with compensation information for this particular employee, so it is expected no workflow should be triggered if we try to change the salary at this moment. Let's try to check it first. Let's go to edit compensation information for this particular employee. Okay, we are going to change this particular employee's pay component amount. So we are just changing one random value. And try to save that. You see, there is no workflow is triggering at this moment. So first we try to trigger our workflow by XML. Here one important point that to be noted, that when we try to trigger one workflow for amount change in pay component, then we have to create one pay component group first. That is the best practice as suggested by SAP SuccessFactors. So here we need to create one pay component group first. We need to associate our pay component into that group, and then based on the pay component group we need to trigger our workflow trigger rule. So how to do that? Let's do it first via workflow derivation data model in XML. Within company settings, there we can find this option, enable UCalc rules engine for HIS. Within company settings we can find this option, enable UCalc rules engine for HRIS. If this option is ticked, that means we are going to trigger our workflow via workflow derivation data model only. In that case, workflows cannot be triggered via business rules. If enable UCalc rules engine for HRS, this option is enabled. Now in other case, if we want to trigger our workflow via business rule only, in that case we need to tick this option, enable business rules for workflow derivation and enable business rules for event reason derivation. In such case, this option we cannot tick. This means we cannot trigger workflow via XML. So it is an either or option is available. Either we can trigger our workflow via workflow derivation data model or via business rule. Both cannot be applicable in the same instance. So first we are checking how to trigger workflow via workflow derivation data model. So to do that, first we need to go to data model, workflow derivation data model, and try to download our data model first. Here is the workflow derivation data model. Let's export the data model first. After exporting the data model, let's open it via XML pad because it is easier to read the data models. So here is the data model. Now we have to select already configured workflow which we are going to trigger via this data model. We have already created one workflow to demonstrate how it can be triggered via workflow data model, and that workflow name is wf underscore salary cag underscore prof. So let's go to our instance and try to check this workflow. In this workflow we have maintained approver as HR manager. So here in instance, let's try to check that workflow. Here you can see wf underscore salary cag underscore prov, this workflow is there, and the approver is employee HR, that means HR manager. So we are going to trigger this workflow via workflow data model. Let's go to our workflow data model here and try to write down the XML tags. Rule. So we have to write down one rule here to trigger the workflow. Within rule, so rule ID, we are just putting one rule ID as salary change. This should be our rule ID. So within rule we have to write down one true output, that should be the workflow ID. True output. Here the workflow ID should be this one, wf salary change prof. Just copy and paste it. Now we have to set the condition based on which the workflow should be triggered. So let's write down the condition tag. Conditions. So here you can apply a and or clause based on which your workflow can be triggered. We are applying and condition here, and here our condition should be based on the pay component group. So in our example we have selected one user where the user's pay component is basic underscore AU. So as we told earlier, the pay component should be associated within a pay component group first. So we have already done that association. Pay component group, annualized salary. So in pay component group annualized salary, we have already maintained our pay component basic salary Australia. So based on this pay component group, we have to write down our condition in our data model. So here the condition is equal ID pay component group. Remember, these name should match with your as per your data model technical ID, that is pay component group. Pay small component C's caps and groups G should be in caps. This should be match as it is. This is case sensitive, please remember that. So pay component group dot, what should be the group here? Annualized salary. Just copy it and paste it here. Now the condition is if this one is changed. So how to write that? Inverse equals to true. So inverse equals to true means when our pay component group dot annualized salaries any data getting changed, then only this workflow getting triggered. So this is our condition. We have write down our condition here. Let's save it and re-upload the workflow derivation data model. So we are just uploading back. Uploaded successfully. Let's re-log in. Re-logged in now. Now we have re-logged in again after importing successfully our modified workflow data model. Now we try to change our example employees compensation, that means salary of pay component amount. So we are trying to modify the data now. Let's try to change the amount to 800 and try to save it. See, now the workflow getting triggered. So who is the approver? The HR manager of that particular employee. So this is how we can trigger the workflow via workflow derivation data model. Now coming to our other point, that is how to trigger workflow via business rule. So trigger workflow via business rule. Before going to do that, we first check if our prerequisite in provisioning system is maintained or not. What is that prerequisite? As we have told earlier as well, if we want to trigger the workflow via business rule, then these options, enable business rule for workflow derivation and enable business rule for event driven derivation, these options need to be enabled. In such case, these option enable UKLC rules engine for HRIS, these options should be switched off. So we are going to enable these next option, that means we are going to trigger workflow via business rule here. So we have enabled these. Let's save it first. So it is saved successfully. Now go to configure business rule. So create new rule, choose basic, put the name as rule salary CHG, description trigger workflow for salary change, base object. The base object should be selected as compensation information model. So we are choosing compensation information. So we are choosing compensation information model as our base object. Let's continue to create the business rule. In if clause, we are putting, as we can see, in compensation information model, we can see the pay component group annualized salary is already available. So drill down there and choose previous value. In operator, we should choose not equal to, and in other operand, we should choose annualized salary current value. So that means if the value is getting changed, that means the previous value if not equals to the current value, that implies that the value is getting changed now. So if this if condition is satisfied, then our workflow should trigger. Here we are going to set our workflow. So just notice here. So now you can see here wf config, this option is available because we have set the provisioning setup via business rule. We can trigger the workflow, so that is why this option is available now. So from here we can trigger our workflow. So we have selected wf config value, and then here let's choose our suitable workflow. So earlier we have triggered this workflow via workflow derivation data model. Now we are selecting another salary change workflow for business rule. Here the approver is line manager. In previous example we have set up the approver as HR manager, so that is the difference. Please make a note here. So selecting this, save this, selected the HRS element comp info. So we are going to assign our business rule here. Choose comp information model, as we have chosen the compensation information model as our base object of our business rule. And the event should be on safe, and here the workflow that and the business rule we just created to trigger the workflow rule salary CHG. So we are going to save it. So it is saved now. Now it's time to test if the workflow is triggering or not. Let's pick up the same user, Marco Burke. So we are trying to make some change to check if the workflow getting triggered or not. Let's go to its one part. Here just trying to make some change. 2700 amount, trying to save it. say the workflow is getting triggered. Who is the participant? William Dirt, who is the line manager. So the new workflow is getting triggered via business rule. Our second example of triggering workflow via business rule, this one is also tested successfully. So hope you have enjoyed this video. So keep watching, do share, to like, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.